Humans are drawn to stories, we always have been, but in the digital age, our appetite for narratives, particularly those centered around suffering, seems insatiable. News cycles are dominated by tragedy. Social media algorithms feed us a steady diet of outrage and despair. And reality TV thrives on showcasing the most vulnerable moments of its participants. Why are we so fascinated by the misfortunes of others? What is it about suffering that captures our collective attention? These are the questions we'll explore in this essay. Consider the popularity of true crime podcasts or the enduring appeal of daytime talk shows. These formats, while vastly different, share a common thread. They capitalize on our fascination with suffering. We devour stories of murder, betrayal, and misfortune, often seeking out the most gruesome details. Book tours for memoirs centered around trauma are routinely packed with eager listeners. The more harrowing the experience, the more captivating the story seems to be. This begs the question, are we inherently drawn to negativity or is something else at play? One explanation for our fascination with suffering lies in a complex psychological phenomenon known as schadenfreude, the experience of pleasure at another person's misfortune. This term, originating from German, encapsulates a feeling that many of us might be reluctant to admit. Yet it is a common human experience deeply embedded in our psyche. While this might seem inherently cruel, it's often an unconscious response rooted in our own insecurities and anxieties. Our minds are complex, and sometimes witnessing others' struggles can momentarily ease our own burdens. It's a way for our psyche to cope with the pressures and challenges we face daily. When we see someone else struggling, it can create a sense of relief that we are not in their shoes. This relief is not born out of malice, but rather a subconscious comparison that reassures us of our own relative stability. It's a fleeting comfort, a brief respite from our own troubles. Their suffering, in a way, validates our own good fortune. It highlights the contrast between their misfortune and our current state, making us more appreciative of what we have. This validation can be a powerful, albeit temporary, boost to our self-esteem and overall sense of well-being. This is not to say that we actively wish ill on others, but rather that their misfortunes can provide a perverse sense of comfort in our own lives. It's a complex interplay of empathy and relief where we feel for the other person but also find solace in our own situation. Understanding this phenomenon can help us navigate our emotions better and foster a more compassionate outlook towards others. The internet and social media have created a culture of oversharing, where personal trauma is often broadcast for the world to see. While vulnerability can be powerful, repeatedly sharing negative experiences can be detrimental to mental health. The constant reliving of traumatic events can deepen wounds and hinder the healing process. Moreover, the public consumption of personal suffering can lead to feelings of exploitation and commodification. When our pain becomes a source of entertainment or validation for others, it can be difficult to establish healthy boundaries and prioritize our own well-being. The business of suffering, how media profits from our pain. It's a complex and often troubling relationship that has deep roots in our society. It's impossible to ignore the role of media in perpetuating this fascination with suffering. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed, we are bombarded with stories of tragedy and despair. News outlets understand that headlines focused on tragedy generate clicks. They know that stories about disasters, crimes, and conflicts capture our attention more than positive news ever could. Reality TV thrives on drama and conflict, often exploiting the vulnerabilities of its participants for ratings. These shows are meticulously crafted to highlight emotional breakdowns, arguments, and personal struggles, all for the sake of entertainment. Even social media algorithms are designed to keep us engaged by feeding us content that elicits strong emotional responses, often negative. The more we react, the more we see, creating a cycle of constant emotional stimulation. In a world driven by profit and engagement, suffering becomes a commodity, packaged and sold for our consumption. Advertisers and content creators alike understand that emotional engagement translates to higher revenues. This relentless focus on negativity can distort our perception of reality and desensitize us to the very real suffering of others. Over time, we may become numb to the pain and suffering that is constantly presented to us, losing our sense of empathy and compassion. The media's focus on suffering isn't just about informing the public, it's about capturing and holding our attention. Editors and producers carefully select stories that will generate the most engagement, often prioritizing sensationalism over substance. As consumers, we have the power to change this narrative. By being mindful of the media we consume and seeking out more balanced and positive stories, we can shift the focus away from suffering and towards a more hopeful and compassionate world. The imbalance. Why we need more stories of hope and resilience. The problem is not that we tell stories of suffering, but that they often overshadow narratives of hope, resilience, and triumph. For every story of trauma and hardship, there are countless untold stories of individuals overcoming adversity, showing extraordinary strength and compassion. These are the stories that deserve amplification, stories that inspire, uplift, and remind us of the inherent good in humanity. By shifting our focus from suffering to resilience, we can create a more balanced and hopeful narrative for ourselves and future generations. The allure of true crime. The popularity of true crime, a genre that delves into real-life criminal cases, highlights our complex relationship with suffering. While some argue that true crime exploits tragedy for entertainment, others find it provides a sense of catharsis, allowing us to confront our fears and anxieties in a controlled environment. The genre's popularity may stem from our innate desire to understand the motivations behind evil and find reassurance that justice, however flawed, can prevail. Section 8. The evolution of empathy, understanding our shared humanity through suffering. Exposure to stories of suffering, while potentially triggering, can also cultivate empathy. By bearing witness to the pain and struggles of others, we develop a deeper understanding of the human condition. We learn to recognize our shared vulnerabilities and connect with others on a more compassionate level. This empathetic response can inspire us to take action, to reach out to those in need, and to work towards creating a more just and equitable society. Section 9. Finding Hope, the Power of Redemption and Transformation. While stories of suffering can be difficult to confront, they often contain within them the seeds of hope, redemption, and transformation. By sharing our experiences, we break down stigma, foster connection, and inspire others to find strength in the face of adversity. The act of transforming pain into purpose, of finding meaning in suffering, can be incredibly empowering, both for the individual and for those who bear witness to their journey. Section 10. Striking a balance, responsible storytelling in a world obsessed with suffering. The key lies in striking a balance. We must be mindful of the potential harm in overexposing ourselves to narratives of suffering while remaining open to the empathy and understanding these stories can evoke. Responsible storytelling requires nuance, sensitivity, and a commitment to showcasing the full spectrum of human experience: the pain, the resilience, the hope, and the transformative power of the human spirit. Section 11. Conclusion. Embracing the full spectrum of human experience. Our fascination with suffering is complex and multifaceted. It is not merely a morbid curiosity, but a profound reflection of our deepest vulnerabilities and fears. When we witness others in pain, we are reminded of our own fragility and the transient nature of life. It's a reflection of our own vulnerabilities, our desire for connection, and our search for meaning in a world often defined by chaos and uncertainty. This fascination drives us to seek out stories of struggle and triumph, to find solace in shared experiences, and to understand the depths of human resilience. While it's essential to acknowledge the potential pitfalls of this fascination, such as becoming desensitized or overwhelmed by the suffering we witness, we must also recognize its potential to foster empathy, inspire action, and ultimately remind us of our shared humanity. We must also recognize its potential to foster empathy, inspire action, and ultimately remind us of our shared humanity. When we see others in pain, it can ignite a spark within us to reach out, to help, and to make a difference in the lives of those around us. By embracing the full spectrum of human experience, the good, the bad, and everything in between, we open ourselves up to a richer, more nuanced understanding of life. We learn to appreciate the moments of joy and triumph as well as the lessons that come from hardship and loss. We can create a more compassionate and understanding world for ourselves and generations to come. By acknowledging and embracing the full range of human emotions and experiences, we build a foundation of empathy and connection that transcends boundaries and unites us all in our shared journey through life.